Rose was 26 years old the morning her husband told her she was no longer welcome in the home she had helped build. Not because she had betrayed him, not because she had committed a sin too great to forgive, but because, after 7 long years of waiting, praying, hoping, her womb had given him nothing. No son, no daughter, no heir. In Cold River Ridge, being barren wasn't a misfortune, it was a curse, and she was the woman tied to it. The decision was delivered in the parlor, where she had once danced with him as a new bride. Now the room felt like a courtroom, filled with faces carved from ice. Her husband stood at the mantel, tall and silent, giving her no comfort, no defense, not even a sigh of regret. His silence cut deeper than any words could. His mother handed Rose a small carpet bag, like she was passing along trash. Inside was a loaf of bread, a shawl, and the clothes Rose already wore. A farewell stripped of dignity. Her husband leaned close enough for only her to hear. "You have a hollow place where life should grow," he said. "A barrenness of the soul. Leave this house, and may God take pity on your cursed body, because we won't." Then the door shut behind her with a heavy thud, the sound of a life erased. The winter woods swallowed her whole. Colorado in February was a merciless beast. Each gust of wind slapped her skin. Each step sent agony through her cold, worn feet. Frozen creeks glittered like broken glass, and bare trees loomed like judges passing silent sentences. She walked until her legs shook. She walked until her breath burned. She walked until the last slice of bread was gone, and numbness crept across her fingers like frost, claiming a dying leaf. By the 3rd day, she no longer knew if she was walking or simply falling forward. Her vision blurred, her thoughts drifted in and out. She stumbled through a patch of brush and collapsed beneath a crooked pine, unable to rise again. Her body trembled, her teeth chattered, and she felt the cold reaching inside her like a hand closing around her heart. This was how they wanted her to die. Alone, forgotten, punished for something she could not change. Her vision dimmed. She exhaled a shallow breath and let her eyes close. But before the darkness took her, a shape moved across the last bit of pale sun she could see. A tall silhouette, broad at the shoulders, steady as stone. Not a wolf, not a wandering settler, a man. He stood over her without a word. His shadow fell across her like a heavy blanket, blocking the wind. She blinked slowly, trying to focus on him. His face looked carved from the same mountains rising behind him, rough, weathered, and unreadable. His coat was made of worn hide, his boots patched countless times, his hair wild from wind and snow. A mountain man. The warning she had heard all her life clawed at her fading mind. Dangerous, uncivilized, savage. He knelt beside her, his movements calm and certain. He didn't ask who she was. He didn't ask why she was dying in the woods. He simply lifted a leather water skin and held it toward her lips. "Drink," he said, his voice low and steady. Rose tried to lift her head, but her strength failed. He supported her gently, not roughly, guiding the water to her mouth. The cold liquid hit her tongue like a miracle. She swallowed greedily, her cracked throat burning with relief. When she finished, he took the water skin back and stood up, turning away as if his duty to her was done. Her heart lurched. He was leaving. "No," she whispered, but the word barely made a sound. She pushed herself up on trembling elbows. "Wait." He kept walking. Fear, sharp, wild, desperate, shot through her veins like fire. "Wait," she shouted with the last scrap of strength she had left. He stopped. Slowly, he turned his head, his eyes meeting hers. Not cold, but deep and old, like they held the weight of many winters. Rose swallowed hard. She would not beg. Not after being turned into a ghost by the people who once claimed to love her. She forced herself to speak with whatever dignity she had left. "You walk away from one life," she said, her voice steadying. "But if you leave now, you're letting a woman die in the snow. Is your heart as empty as they said mine was?" For a long, breathless moment, he did not move. Then something shifted in his eyes, something dark and tired, something that recognized her pain. He stepped toward her, his presence filling the space between them. "The mountains don't care for the weak," he said. "They claim them." "I'm not weak," she said softly. "I'm surviving." He watched her, really watched her, the way a man studies a wounded animal deciding whether it can stand on its own. Finally, he gave a single nod. "You'll follow me," he said. "If you fall behind, I leave you. That's the only mercy I offer." Rose pushed herself to her feet, her legs shaking violently. But she stood. She stood because dying was no longer an option. And with that, her true journey began. A journey she never expected. A journey that would break her, rebuild her, and change her life in ways she could not yet imagine. She stepped forward, following the lone mountain man into the wilderness. And the mountains held their breath, sensing the start of something new. The wilderness did not welcome her, it tested her. Every hour, every step, every breath. Nathaniel! She learned his name only when he muttered it under his breath while fixing a torn strap, moved through the frozen forest like he was made of it. Rose stumbled behind him, her legs shaking, her lungs burning. The cold gnawed at her bones, but the fear of being left behind gnawed harder. His warning echoed in her mind. "If you fall behind, I leave you." She would not give him a reason. They walked until the world blurred into white and gray. Just when Rose thought she would collapse, Nathaniel slipped through a narrow crack between two large stone walls. The passage twisted like the secret throat of a mountain, hidden from any who didn't know it existed. On the other side was a valley so sheltered it felt like another world. A shallow cave rested against a far wall, vines and icicles draped across its opening like a winter curtain. A thin stream trickled beside it, barely unfrozen. This was his home. Not a cabin, not a settlement. A den carved by nature and claimed by solitude. Nathaniel entered first. Rose followed, her breath catching at the sight inside. The cave was sparse, a small fire pit in the center. Sleeping furs placed neatly against the back wall, tools carved from bone and wood. A single clay pot, no decorations, no softness. It was a place meant for one man who needed nothing and no one. Now she was in it. He looked at her face, reading her exhaustion without asking. "Sit," he said. She did. He prepared a fire quickly, sparks flying from the stone and steel in his hands. As the flames crackled to life, he placed a small strip of dried meat near her. "Eat," he ordered simply. She wanted to devour it, but she forced herself to take small bites. He watched her quietly, his eyes hard but not cruel. She realized he was evaluating her, deciding if she was worth the trouble. "I can work," she said suddenly, surprising even herself. Nathaniel didn't look up. "We'll see." In the days that followed, he didn't coddle her. He didn't soothe her fears. He didn't treat her like she was broken. He treated her like she was capable, if she proved it. He taught without speaking, pointing, demonstrating, expecting. Fire, water, snares, tracks, shelter. She failed at almost everything the first time, sometimes the second, but he never stepped in to rescue her. She learned by fighting the land itself. And Rose, the woman who had been told she was hollow and useless, felt something inside her begin to rise. Stubborn, aching strength. Each day she watched Nathaniel too. His movements, his choices, the way he scanned the valley whenever a bird call changed pitch, the way his hands, scarred and strong, worked with quiet skill, the way silence wrapped around him like armor. One night, as she scraped hides by the fire, she saw him pause. His face softened in a way she had never seen. He reached into a small pouch on his belt and pulled out a single dried wildflower. Its petals were faded, but handled like treasure. He touched it with a tenderness that didn't match the harsh world around them. Loss. She saw it in him clearly now. He had lost someone. He put the flower away quickly, but the moment stayed with her long after the fire dimmed. The valley slowly became a fragile kind of home. Brutal, but honest, until the night everything shifted. Nathaniel came back from hunting with blood on his arm and a deep gash tearing across his skin. A mountain lion had lashed out. He wrapped the wound tightly, but Rose saw the strain in his face. By morning, fever had claimed him. He lay on the furs, shaking with heat, his breath shallow. This man who had carried her from the edge of death was now slipping toward the same edge himself. Fear wrapped itself around her heart like an icy hand. She knelt beside him. "Tell me what to do." He didn't hear her. His eyes were unfocused, his skin burning with sickness. He mumbled fragments of words she couldn't understand. He was strong. He was capable. He was the reason she was alive. And now she was alone. The panic rose quickly. But then, something inside her hardened. She would not watch another life slip away. Not this one. Not the only person who hadn't looked at her like she was worthless. She remembered the plant he had shown her days before, its thick leaves holding healing sap. She remembered where it grew. She rushed outside, the cold biting into her skin. She searched desperately through the snow, digging with numb fingers. When she finally found the plant, she crushed its leaves between stones, just like he had once done. She cleaned his wound, applied the sap, held water to his lips. Then she waited. The hours felt endless. When the first light broke across the valley the next morning, she forced herself outside to check the snares he hadn't been able to set. She remembered the lessons, the patterns, the tracks, 1 snare, 2 snares, empty, the third. A rabbit, small, cold, perfect. A victory she had earned with her own hands. She prepared it, her fingers trembling but sure. When the meat cooked over the fire, Nathaniel stirred. His eyes opened slowly, foggy but alive. He blinked at the food, at the wound cleaned and dressed, at the woman kneeling beside him with tired eyes and soot on her face. He understood. He didn't thank her, he didn't smile, he didn't speak. He just ate the food she offered. In that quiet moment, she felt it. Respect. Real, undeniable respect. She had become more than a burden, more than a broken woman, more than a curse. She had become a survivor. And Nathaniel saw her. But the world outside their valley was changing. Danger was approaching. And Rose had no idea that strangers were already making their way toward them, carrying a piece of her past that refused to stay buried. The peace in their hidden valley didn't end with a roar. It ended with a sound far quieter. A twig snapping, a boot crunching in snow, a voice that Rose never thought she would hear again. "Rose Parker, come out this instant!" Her blood turned to ice. Nathaniel froze where he stood, his eyes lifting toward the narrow entrance of their secluded home. His hand wrapped instinctively around the handle of his knife. More voices followed. Men, armed, determined. Rose's past had finally found her. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "They're close." She already knew who it was. She knew that sharp, judgmental tone better than she knew her own heartbeat. Her former mother-in-law, Cold River Ridge, had come for her. The old fear swelled inside Rose. The fear of being dragged back, the fear of being humiliated, the fear of being treated once again like she was hollow, broken, worthless. Nathaniel stepped beside her, a wall of silent strength. "I can lead them away," he said. "You hide. I come back for you." "No," she whispered, surprised by her own steady voice. "I'm not running anymore." His eyes flicked to her, reading the storm inside her. Then he nodded. Together they stepped toward the valley entrance. The sight waiting for them was a knife to Rose's heart. Her former mother-in-law stood at the center of a group of 5 armed men, her spine stiff as iron, her face twisted with righteous fury. She looked at Rose as if looking at a ghost. "There you are," the woman spat, "stolen by a savage, living like an animal. You will return home at once." "I have no home with you," Rose said firmly. The men exchanged uncertain glances. Nathaniel's presence was a force. He didn't even speak, but the way he stood, solid, unyielding, made them hesitate. "We're here to save you," one of the men said, though his voice held doubt. I'm not the one who needs saving, Rose replied. Her mother-in-law's face reddened. You are barren, worthless, a shame to our name. You think I will allow you to remain with this wild, godless creature? Nathaniel stepped forward slightly, shielding Rose. Rose placed a hand on his arm. No, she whispered. I stand with you. A flicker of pride glowed in his eyes. Rose stepped ahead of him, facing the people who had destroyed her life. You threw me out, she said. You left me to die. And you call this man godless? He saved me. He corrupted you, the older woman hissed. Rose shook her head slowly. No, he made me feel human again. Silence fell, deep, vast, heavy. One of the men spoke quietly. Ma'am, she ain't no captive. She's standin' with him by choice. Her mother-in-law whirled on him. She is barren, a failure. Rose felt anger rise, not cold this time, but warm and steady. I was never barren, she said softly. I was only measured by the wrong standard. She glanced at Nathaniel, at the man who had taught her to fight, to survive, to believe she wasn't hollow. What I have here is worth more than anything you think I lost. The older woman shook with fury. If you do not return this instant, you are dead to us. No one will speak your name again. Rose's chin lifted. Good. A stunned silence fell. Nathaniel stepped closer, his presence wrapping around her like a silent vow. You are damned, her mother-in-law whispered. Forever. Maybe, Rose said, but at least I am free. The men looked at each other, unsure. The woman barked orders, but none of them moved. They had seen the truth. Rose wasn't a prisoner. She wasn't broken. She wasn't begging. She was choosing. Defeated and furious, the woman spat onto the ground and turned away. Let her rot in this filth, she snarled, storming off through the snow. The others followed, leaving Rose and Nathaniel standing in the entrance of their valley, alone again. As the last echo of footsteps faded, Nathaniel turned to her. You did not hide, he said. I'm done hiding, she answered. He touched her cheek gently with his rough hand. You stood taller than any warrior. Her breath trembled. I only stood because you taught me how. His eyes softened, the guarded loneliness inside them breaking open. You taught me too, he said. You taught me how to live again. She leaned into him, feeling the warmth and safety of the man who had once walked away from her and then became her shelter from the world. Their foreheads touched, and in the quiet of that winter morning, something unspoken settled between them, something deeper than survival. Love. Not the kind built on promises and expectations. Not the kind measured by airs or duty. But the kind built in firelight, in shared silence, in battles fought side by side. The kind that made two broken souls whole. Nathaniel wrapped his arms around her. You are not hollow, he said softly. You are full, full of strength, full of courage, full of life. Tears filled her eyes, warm against the cold wind. And you, she whispered, you didn't give me children. You gave me something better. You gave me back myself. Quote. He kissed her, slow, steady, reverent, a promise, a beginning, a new life. The valley, their valley, stood quiet around them, a place born of hardship, transformed by hope. Filled now with the beating hearts of two people who had found each other when the world had cast them aside. Rose Parker, once labeled barren, had finally bloomed.